for those of us who may be interested in starting home gardening. And so this session will be able to facilitate you with that sort of activity, right? We will continue with the key presentation, which is sandwich/staple making. Also, tomorrow, we will be having a specially invited presenter from Heart Foundation of Jamaica, who will be giving us information on nutrition and ways to keep cool in the summer and other information. Continue with the key presentation, which is sandwich/staple making. Also, tomorrow, we will be having a specially invited presenter from Heart Foundation of Jamaica, who will be giving us information on nutrition and ways to keep cool in the summer and other information. Continue with the key presentation, which is sandwich/staple making. Also, tomorrow, we will be having a specially invited presenter from Heart Foundation of Jamaica, who will be giving us information on nutrition and ways to keep cool in the summer and other information. Continue with the key presentation, which is sandwich/staple making. Also, tomorrow, we will be having a specially invited presenter from Heart Foundation of Jamaica, who will be giving us information on nutrition and ways to keep cool in the summer and other information. Continue with the key presentation, which is sandwich/staple making. Also, tomorrow, we will be having a specially invited presenter from Heart Foundation of Jamaica, who will be giving us information on nutrition and ways to keep cool in the summer and other information. Continue with the key presentation, which is sandwich/staple making. Also, tomorrow, we will be having a specially invited presenter from Heart Foundation of Jamaica, who will be giving us information on nutrition and ways to keep cool in the summer and other information. Continue with the key presentation, which is sandwich/staple making. Also, tomorrow, we will be having a specially invited presenter from Heart Foundation of Jamaica, who will be giving us information on nutrition and ways to keep cool in the summer and other information. Continue with the key presentation, which is sandwich/staple making. Also, tomorrow, we will be having a specially invited presenter from Heart Foundation of Jamaica, who will be giving us information on nutrition and ways to keep cool in the summer and other information. Continue with the key presentation, which is sandwich/staple making. Also, tomorrow, we will be having a specially invited presenter from Heart Foundation of Jamaica, who will be giving us information on nutrition and ways to keep cool in the summer and other. Continue with the key presentation, which is sandwich/staple making. Also, tomorrow, we will be having a Okay. It sounds as though it has stopped. I hope it has stopped for everyone. Sorry about that, but let me swiftly continue with the schedule. On Friday, we will be mostly looking at some production of staple witch and
sandwich making, packaging, and labeling. And that will continue into Tuesday, sorry, with the viewing of other presentations on sandwich production, and also to reiterate what is expected for the various assessment that will take place for the closing off of the actual course. So we'll do an actual course review on Tuesday. So there is quite a lot to accomplish and to learn, and some different ways in which we can actually be active and get the children involved in some of the preparations that we have planned for you. So we are again happy to have you, and do hope that you will benefit from this course. I am actually checking to find out if Miss Carr is online. Yes, she is. And Ms. Carr will lead us into what master level training program is all about at the Jamaica 4-H clubs, and give you some details accordingly. Ms. Carr, are you able to speak?
Yes, good morning. Just let me fix
Ms. Carr is our training and placement coordinator at the Jamaica 4-H clubs, and she will give you the details. Thank you, Ms. Carr.
All right, good morning, everyone. I'm not using laptop. I like to see faces. So I'm not seeing anybody. All right. Everybody cameras off. I assume. All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome to our summer training. And as you would have heard, I am Bernita Carr, the training and placement coordinator here at the Jamaica 4-H clubs. I hope I am not a stranger to most persons, right? And as your thing said, yes, summer up and bouncing, summer training. And I hope that persons are ready, up and running, right? And ready for your master level training. All right, so my task this morning, a few minutes, I'll take a few minutes just to tell you, to give you some background information as to what the master level training is all about. I'm sure everybody's hearing me, right? Susan, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, great.
Loud and clear, we're hearing you.
All right, nice. So the Jamaica 4-H clubs training is centered around the project concept and is guided by the philosophy of learn by doing, right? And I think that philosophy itself a lot, right? So it's against this background that the master level training was developed to unearth hands-on skills that participants would gain in the training. I know persons would have started out maybe years ago or during COVID, not sure of the age cohort that we have online is full-time. I know we probably have some students, we have some leaders, we have some parents that are online. And so I will have to be as simple as possible so everybody can understand really what it is that we're doing in terms of master level. All right. So the master level is the certification is provided through the training, right? And it is referred to as our master level certification, right? So this program was developed in 2016 because we believe that it is important that when we train persons to a high level or at a certain standard, it is important that we provide them with some form of evidence, right, to show that yes, I have done this training and at this particular level, right? So the master level is pretty simple. It is really taking persons from the stimulatory level. So stimulatory means that you would have gone to the training, you would have just observed and maybe practice some of, I'm seeing a notification put on in the chat that persons are trying to get on. Right, sorry about that. So it's pretty much taking persons from the stimulatory training and giving persons now additional training so that person, you may not be an expert, but you should have the knowledge that even as a leader, you are able to go back and train your students or maybe persons in your community clubs or churches at that level. And so pretty much that's what the mastery level is about. So our objective generally is that once you participate in this training is that you're able to acquire a deeper understanding of the subject content, right? You should be able to apply the knowledge and skills that you would have learned during the training session. So it's not about just coming, looking, but it's about coming into the training, participating in the training, getting that level of understanding so you can share the information in your different, in your respective groups, right? You should be able to carry out your practical demonstration, right? So we know that we not just see the thing, but we should be able to apply it practically. So because we'll be doing different things, you're expected to do your practicals, right? Now, in terms of scoring, you are expected to acquire 65%, or at least both in your theory and your practical, right? So you will be trained, and I don't know if Ms. Fulton, I think I came on and speak later, I'm not sure if any information is given, but let me just say that so this training, it will be done in different sections. So outside of the stimulatory where you just do your training and you leave, this one is a little bit different. It's a little bit more, I don't want to use the word technical, but it requires a little more attention. Person needs to be more receptive of the information because we're expecting that you are able to apply it and to show us that you are able to acquire this mastery level certificate. So you will be doing the theory assessment, which means the written assessment based on what is done, right? And you will also be required to do some practical, so we can see that yes, you can do your sandwich well, or you are able to make your popsicle or whatever it is that we're going to be assessing you on. So it is important that you participate. I know persons would have been in training from time to time and they log in, but yet they are going to do they're going to do different things. So we are saying to you from the onset, you will be required to do a theory. It's not anything hard, it's pretty simple. It's basically recall what you would have learned, right? And how you can apply the information. Your practical, you will be guided, right? I think we're doing a guided practical. So it's not anything that will be left on your own to do and share, but you will be guided as to what is expected and what is required. So with a combination score, we are expecting that all persons here, I'm not sure I'm seeing 86 persons, so outside of staff, I am thinking that we should have at least about 80 people getting 65% or over, right? Your certificate will be awarded in 4 different categories, right? So you can make a note and you can make a determination which category you want to fall in. All right. So as I said, 65 would have been your pass mark, right? So 64 and below, you will get a participatory certificate. So this is simply saying that yes, I have participated in the training, right? And 65 now to 74 says to you that you get a bronze certificate, right? And then 75 to 84, you get a silver. And then 85 and above, you get a gold. So I am saying to you that certificates are here for everybody, and it's just now to determine where you fall in that line, right? So participate, be interactive, and ask your questions when it is time to do so, right? Also, in addition to that, we have developed a system. I know persons might fall into this prior to. What we have developed is that once your training is done and you have done your theory and your practical, then you will get what we would call a completion letter. A letter to say to you that, all right, you have completed the training and you would have gotten whether gold, silver, bronze, or participatory certificate. So you can use that in the interim until your certificate is ready, right? Please know that we would have taken a decision that we will print certificates once per quarter. The certificates will not be printed as soon as the course is done. But what we do is to do a compilation and we will print them at the end of the quarter. All right. So I think that is enough. Let me just go through now the steps that you need to take in terms of the mastery level. So first and foremost, you're on, which we truly appreciate and want to thank you for coming on. You must ensure that you complete your registration form. That is very, very, very important. So being here, I would assume, Mrs. Sultan, that persons would have completed the registration form, whether it's physical or it is online. Ensure that you complete it and we have your information. Use your correct name, because that is what we're going to, the certificate will be printed on the name that you use on your registration form. Clear? No answer?
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
So one.
Okay.
All right. So two, please ensure that you attend at least 80% of the session. Meaning, if your training is for 4 days, you may, Miss Fulton, you can guide me here. You may miss a day, but you will have to catch up. But ensure you participate every single day, because the registers will be taken every day. Right? Your participation is important. We don't want persons to just sit behind the camera, not asking any question, not acknowledging what persons are saying or what the presenters are saying. So your participation plays a big role in the mastery and the training. And so when you participate, it gives the presenter more energy, more vibe for it to be more lively and more interactive. All right? The next thing is that when you get the information, because information will be shared, you can take your own notes, and the information will be shared with you. Read it over so you can cement the content in your head so you're able to apply. Right? So don't take it that, oh, I just participate and that's it. We want you to read over. So for example, today when you get information, you may have a question that you want to ask. So you can write down that question, and tomorrow you ask the question, right? So that's the procedure I'm giving you now. You need to follow the procedure. All right. The next thing now is that you prepare for your theory. And as Ms. Fulton mentioned earlier, she will do a course review. So she'll be doing your revision. And again, you may have questions that you want to ask. You can go ahead and do that. Also, you will be required to do your practical, and Ms. Fulton will again tell you how that will be done, how and when it will be done. So pretty much it's a simple process. Ensure that you register using your correct name, and also when you're logging in, you also log in with your correct name so register can be done. So at the end of it, I am the person who is responsible for doing your certificate. I know you could have been, maybe some persons are on who are awaiting certificates. So don't kill Mrs. Fulton. I am the person who is fully responsible for that. and I will do my best to ensure that you all get your certificate and you get them at the end of the quarter once the training is complete. All right, so pretty much that's it for your master level, and I hope that you will have a productive session, and I am looking forward to seeing those old certificates being printed for all the persons on the platform. All right, are there any questions? Any
I
questions?
saw a hand up, but it seemed to have been lowered, so maybe the
Nothing at this
person had their question answered in what you said, Ms. Carr. I'm not seeing any more hands raised.
All right, so that's it from me.
Sorry.
All right, great. Thank you so much, Ms. Carr. I really appreciate you giving us this wealth of information about master level program. And so persons can anticipate great things. And I know we will all be striving to get the gold, right? And I'm sure we can all get the gold if we do, as Ms. Carr said, do our review, etc. So we can keep the mind fresh with the information when it's time for assessment. Okay, so having learned all that information, there's just a little housekeeping. Persons on the platform, we admitted a few persons, hoping that they'll do the necessary renaming. You need to rename your device, click on participants, identify yourself by your device or your name. There is an icon with 3 dots on it. You'll see pin and you will see rename. So click on rename, put your name and your parish, your full name and your parish. Now tomorrow we won't be admitting anyone unless they have their full name in the waiting room. This is for security purposes. So we need to be able to know who it is we're admitting onto the platform. All right. So please, if you don't have your parish beside your name, just do so now as we proceed into the next segment of our course today. So I'm hoping you're as excited as I am and that you're ready to go. Everything is up and bouncing, and we're going to hit it off by actually starting with some information, but also for you to note, we're expecting that each person who participates will be a part of a parish WhatsApp group where additional information will be shared. Queries can also be raised, and so they can be addressed at that point. All right, so please ensure that you join the parish WhatsApp group. I know that some of the parishes would also be posting their registration forms in the chat so that the relevant persons can actually register with their details. If not, I will remain on the platform at the end for about 20 minutes. So if there are any issues or so, we'll deal with them at the end. Great. So I am going to actually start sharing.
Ms. Fulton, before you start, just ask the persons to mute or ask the host to mute. Some persons are
Okay. All right. So please, everyone, mute unless it is that you're going to be responding to a question. So if you have any issues, just raise your hand and we will identify you. All right. Is everyone seeing the screen?
Yes.
Right. Great.
Yes.
Yes.
So we are going to start. So when we engage in anything that has to do with food, we have to ensure that we are undertaking some things that are hygienic. We have to ensure food is safe. So whether you're going to be producing for yourself or your family or others, we must ensure that food is safe for consumption. True or false? I suspect you're responding by true. Right. So whatever the purpose of the preparation, we have to do all that is necessary to ensure that food is safe for consumption. And so we must start this course by looking at some of these rules for food handling purposes. But let us start first with our objectives and general objectives and specific objectives for the course. So we aim to sensitize not just our forage membership, but the general public, because the group on this platform is mixed, and we want to be able to sensitize you on the link between agriculture and value addition through sandwich production. We want to be able to promote the consumption of fruits, local fruits, and local vegetables, right? Also want to highlight the nutritive benefits of our local fruits and vegetables. And of course, be able to showcase novel ways of preparing our fruits and vegetables through the production of sandwiches and beverages. Those are the key aims of the course. And we look now at the specific objectives. So at the end of this training course, all our participants should be able to define the term sandwich making, differentiate between a sandwich and a staplewich, state the classification of sandwiches, state the parts of a sandwich, identify at least 4 types of sandwiches, identify 5 main groups of nutrients that may be found in sandwich, and list its associated part. Should be able to list appropriate fillings and garnishes for sandwiches. Also identify equipment and the tools used for sandwiches, making sandwiches. Identify at least 5 kinds of sandwiches. Discuss at least 3 benefits of fruits and vegetables. List at least 4 techniques used in sandwich preparation. And as this relates to your practical area and the demonstration, to prepare and present 2 types of cold sandwiches. And of course, demonstrate good food handling practices. It sounds like a mouthful, right? However, when we go through the various materials and demonstrations and information, you will realize that you would have fulfilled all the objectives. So let's now glide into the general food handling and safety guides. So we understand that food safety is important, right? And we must carry out appropriate measures to avoid food contamination. And so we need to follow certain rules and guidelines. So, of course, one of the basic ones is to follow personal hygiene rules, which includes having a bath, keeping your hair clean, wearing clean clothes, right? And so on. So we have to follow those basic guides. So once you're going to be preparing food, these are just some of the basic things you must follow. So when you're going to be preparing your food, you must also wear protective clothing. So you don't want anything to spill on your clothes, or this will be the barrier between you and whatever you're doing, and help to protect you while you're doing your necessary preparations. So your aprons must be worn, Your hair must be covered, whether with a hair net or a head tie or a, as you see the young lady here in a chef hat or something to protect and prevent your hair from falling into the food that you are preparing. Also, it's also wise to wear comfortable shoes so that you, while you stand and work, you're also comfortable. We also keep our fingernails short so they're easy to clean. Reduce the possibility of germs and other material getting stuck under there and contaminating your food. We advise against wearing nail polish because once you start preparing food or doing these various activities, then it's likely that nail polish can chip off and fall in the food. Therefore, contamination takes place. All right. Now, when handling food, wash and dry your hands thoroughly and often. So, outside of pandemic, this is something that normally takes place in any food establishment, or once you're preparing food, this is something that ought to be done. So the pandemic has only made it even more of a must do for us once we start doing our necessary preparations, right? So we have to ensure that we wash our hands properly, right? And wash them often so as to reduce the risk of contaminating food. And how do we wash hands? So, of course, we must have soap. So the first thing you do, you have to turn the tap on. You have to wet your hands. You have to apply the soap and then you lather. And again, I'm sure that we remember how to wash your hand in between the fingers, under the fingernails. And we do that for at least 20 seconds. We have to then wash our hands. Off because not all households are going to have a tap that you don't have to actually touch with your hands, right? So we need to wash your hands properly. Now, if you're wearing disposable gloves, it's not a reason to have the gloves on the entire period of preparation, because just as your hands will become dirty, once you have the gloves on, they will also become soiled at some point. So you have to ensure that you change your gloves, right, regularly. And of course, you need to wash your hands properly and dry them before you actually put the gloves on. All right. Now, your area of work is also important. So wherever you're going to be working, whether on a kitchen counter or on a table, then those surfaces need to be clean. The utensils that you're going to be using also need to be clean, right? So keep your work counter, your work surfaces clean, your utensils and equipment clean at all times, because again, we're trying to ensure that food is safe for consumption. And so we have to try to reduce or eliminate contamination of our food. So follow the clean as you go rule. So while you're preparing, you continuously clean, right? So you also in this juncture will be reducing the likelihood of contamination and also reducing the work, because if you're cleaning as you're going, you using certain things and you're washing up and so on, then you won't have a whole surface of dirty things to wash, sink piled high, and so on, right? Now, another important rule is that you don't prepare food if you're ill. And this is so as to reduce the risk of causing other people to become ill. We remember also that our hands are used ever so often in whatever we are doing. And so it is the point where a lot of contamination takes place, and the touching of your person, your face, which includes your nose and all of that, will also allow for contamination. And if you're not feeling well, then oftentimes some of this happens, and then you will cause your food to be contaminated. And you're now going to be affecting those that you're actually preparing for, right? So that is also a given. Now, no questions so far. All right. So what else can we look at as it relates to handling and having safe storage of our sandwiches? So are there any questions though, as it relates to food handling in our preparation of food? I don't think so. Okay. So we need to observe some of these guidelines when we are preparing and serving good quality sandwiches. So we need to keep food covered, right? Keeping food covered protects the food from external contaminants, right? And of course, whatever you're going to be using to cover the food must be clean, right? We said earlier that the tools and equipment, etc., that you use must be clean. And so having done that, you need to keep your food covered. So it's either gonna be in a container that is sealed or covered, or you're going to have what we call cover cloths to cover your general items that you're going to be using. Now, when you have prepared your sandwiches, you need to wrap them well to prevent staling or drying out. Now, this happens when sandwiches lose moisture. So once you leave sandwiches out and it is exposed to the air, it loses moisture, it dries out, and it reduces the quality of the sandwich. So you can test this. You can just cut a thin slice of bread, leave it on a plate on the table, and leave it a few hours and see what happens to it. Once you touch it, you find that it starts hardening, right? It's losing moisture. We don't want that for our sandwiches. We want the best quality sandwich that we can actually prepare. Now, when we are also going through the preparation, we need to pack our lettuce or pickles or tomatoes, if we're using relish, and those items, store them separately to keep your sandwiches from getting soggy, right? So you don't, for those of us who would be slicing our tomato, you know that it has a lot of moisture, right? And if you keep them together with your sandwich, with your bread, etc., it's gonna cause it to be soggy, right? And we're going to show you a technique to also reduce your base or your bread from getting soggy. Now, another rule we have when we prepare food is hot foods are kept hot and cold foods are kept cold, right? So keep your fillings refrigerated at no less than 7 degrees Celsius. Once you don't tamper with your refrigerator, it should have that sort of setting, right? And you store your sandwiches likewise. So once you prepare your sandwiches, you wrap them properly and you store them in the refrigerator, right? And your filling that you will use, you're going to cover them before you actually store it. So a lot of things has to do with wrapping and covering so that we reduce contamination and we retain the quality of the particular ingredient or the finished product, which is the sandwich that you will be making. All right. Now, having made your sandwiches, you keep them refrigerated until you're ready to serve them. If you're going on a picnic and you're preparing your sandwiches, then it's best to get a cooler, right? And keep them in the cooler to reduce the rapid multiplication of bacteria that will cause your sandwiches to go bad. All right. So for the party, the family outings or the party outings, that because a lot of people now will be going to the beach for the holidays, right? They might be going to the park, you know, so they pack their own things, they prepare their own sandwiches and take, but you have to ensure that you have the correct storage locked, right? So that your sandwiches don't lose the quality and go bad when you're ready to consume them. All right, good so far? Good so far.
Yes.
Great. Now,
Yes, Miss.
right, there is a potential to freeze your sandwiches if you may have had, if you probably made more than you needed, or for some other reason you have sandwiches left over that you're not going to be using now. You can freeze them, but remember, you're going to lose the quality on thawing. So once the sandwich is thawed, then you're going to find that the texture is off. It's going to be a bit soggy, right? So you may now have to be very creative in how you remove the excess moisture or redo some elements of the sandwich to maintain some standard there. Now, in anything we do, we want the best of best, right? And so when you're going to be preparing your sandwiches, you're going to choose ingredients that are of high quality. So if you want something of high quality, you can't put poor quality ingredients in it. Right, so choose quality ingredients. Now the sandwiches must be presented to standard, so you must have what it is you want it to be at the end. Is it a party sandwich? Is it a sandwich for lunch? Is it a sandwich for dinner? Is it a cocktail sandwich? Whatever it may be, then it will fulfill those sandwiches, those requirements based on what it is that you actually do in the production of same, right? Now, when you're doing these sandwiches, your filling, for example, must be of high quality and of freshness, so that once you eat it, you will get that nice, wonderful goodness. Now, we want to ensure that when we prepare the sandwiches, we reduce the risk of contamination by minimizing the handling of food, meaning you don't want to always be touching the food with your hands. Remember, as we said, the hands is a source of a means of contamination if it is not kept clean. And so if you constantly touch, then there is the risk that if your hands are not clean, that your meal or your sandwich or your dish can also be contaminated, right? And so that's one of the reasons why some persons will tend to use gloves. But like I said before, even if you use the gloves, you have to change regularly, because similar to how you'd wash your hands, you would have to change the gloves to reduce the risk of contamination. So where possible that you can use tools like food tongs to move or transfer the food, do so. So if you're going to be placing something on something, then you use your tongs where possible. So it's not that you can't use your hands, but reduce it as much as possible and use some of your tools to help reduce the risk of cross-contamination. All right? Now, once you start preparing sandwiches, especially as we will be doing cold sandwiches, right? Then organization and speed is key to success. So you must have everything set out in an orderly fashion. So if you are preparing your fillings are prepared, your bread is prepared, your spread is prepared, your garnishes are prepared and set out in a way that facilitates easy access, easy movement is important, and speed is also important, because having the knowledge that every 20 minutes bacteria multiplies, that means if you have one bacteria, right, every 20 minutes it multiplies, so that 1, 2, in another 20 minutes, that 2 will become 4, and it will continue. Be mindful that you will never find just one bacteria. So there'll be multiple. So you can just imagine the rate of multiplication that will take place at any time, right? So if you are gonna work, you need to work speedily to reduce the time that is taken at room temperature to do your necessary preparation, right? So you want to do what you're doing quickly and serve, or do what you're doing quickly and refrigerate to reduce the bacterial growth. All right, good. So to ensure freshness of your sandwiches, prepare quickly. You're gonna serve quickly, or you're going to package and refrigerate to maintain hygienic standards. Do we understand that?
Yes, we do.
Yes, miss. Yes, miss.
So we
Yes.
are of the understanding that our hygienic practices are very important. We can become ill from food that is not prepared properly. We can become ill from food that has been contaminated by various ways and means, right? And being mindful too that our hands tend to do a lot of that cross-contamination. That's the vehicle that a lot of the bacteria and germs will move in. So we have to make sure that we apply the necessary rules to either reduce or eliminate the risk of contamination and the likelihood of us becoming ill. There are a lot of persons who get ill because of food poisoning, and we cannot take it lightly. So whether it is you're going to be preparing for yourself, or whether it is that you're going to be preparing for your family, friends, etc., we need to ensure that food is safe for consumption and that we do all that is necessary to ensure the safety of those we serve. So what are some of the things we need to remember? What are some of the things that we need to remember? We need to wash our hands properly and often. We need to wear protective clothing to prevent the transfer of food to ourselves and ourselves to food, right? So we need to ensure the hair is covered so that hair is not transferred to the food that we're preparing. We need to ensure that the surfaces that we prepare food on is kept clean, right? Also, those equipment and utensils that we use to prepare food are kept clean as well. We need to ensure that we keep high quality food if we want to have high quality food. We need to store things by wrapping them and refrigerating them, or using something like a food net or a cover cloth to cover our food to prevent them from exposure to elements, and also exposure. Sometimes you know that the flies become a bother sometimes, right? So we have to prevent those things from contaminating our food. We also realize that organization and speed is key. Or organization and speed are key to the successful production of our sandwiches, as it reduces the time that we spend in preparation and therefore the multiplication of microorganisms that will cause us harm. We also must be mindful that if we are not going to be serving our sandwiches immediately, we need to ensure that they are refrigerated to keep them at the correct temperature to reduce bacterial growth. And if we are going out for picnic or some other means of entertainment, like going to the beach, etc., then we can utilize something like a cooler to help maintain the temperature or to control the temperature there and keep our sandwiches of good quality. So those are some of the key points that we need to remember as it relates to our food handling and safe storage of our sandwiches. Are there any questions? Are there hands raised? No hands raised. No questions. Oh, wonderful.
Just one point, Miss.
Sure.
Persons have to ensure that they are not sick, because being sick can cause transference of bacteria. Yeah.
Right. Very good. See, one person is listening. Very good.
Well, she did mention that.
Yes, I did mention. I think she probably wanted to hit on it as a means of refreshing ourselves as we revise. Natalie Johnson, your hand is raised. Go ahead with your question.
Yes, thanks. I was asking that the time that was suggested, recommended for the washing of hands. How long does you recommend to be washing hands?
Normally, they say as a guide, you can sing the happy birthday song, and by the time you finish, it will be enough time that you'd have washed your hands.
Okay, love that.
That's kind of easy to do. Colette,
One recommend.
Oh, sorry, with your question. Sorry.
Yes, this is Colette. What I'm saying is basically you should not bring the sandwiches out without keeping it cool or cold enough, because bacteria will germinate during the hot times, or the heat will cause it to germinate.
So you keep it in the refrigerator until you're ready to serve it. Cover it, keep it in the refrigerator until you're ready to serve it. Because I mean, all of us are aware of the heat, and the heat is one of the things that also aids the multiplication process of microorganisms. So we want
That's what I was asking.
As much as possible. Thanks,
Okay,
Colette.
thank you.
Natalie, if there isn't another question, just lower your hand once your question.
I had in fact wanted to say that to the point that the lady was making, prior to that I was thinking that putting ice cubes or block ice inside the cooler would be beneficial, because it's
well, I would expect that would have been a norm. I am sorry. I just thought that was a norm to establish that the cooler on itself is not going to maintain some, that freshness. So you would normally put the ice in, and I would say over it so that or containerize your sandwiches so that water leak in.
Yeah, the ice is a must.
Yes, and I always thought that you would have the igloo with the ice, so
Yes, because remember, if you don't have the ice in the igloo in itself is going to be a very hot environment.
Exactly so. All right, Lisa, go ahead with your question. Lisa Cole, your hand is raised. Go ahead with your question. I'm not hearing. If you are having challenges, you can type in the chat and let me see if I can answer your question any at all. All right. So there be no other questions. I hope you have grasped this information. This is just the bare essentials, guys. If we had something, I hope we can have almost a month of information on food microbiology and keeping food safe and all that, and the laws associated and so on and so forth. But we're just giving you the basic information that you would need to do your necessary preparations for this course. All right, great. At this time, we are so poised. We're working, well, we're on par with time. Miss Mantle, are you able to give us that little break that we need? It's part of what we learn in 4-H, that, you know, it's not just about the nutrition of everything and the food that we need to consume. We have to exert the energy and we have to keep moving, and we become too sedentary at times. So we have to keep the blood flowing. And once you go online and you're sitting and you're just looking, you need to move, right? Agree? Well, I don't matter if you agree, you know, I am telling you that
We do.
The
We
fact,
do.
the fact, the energy level.
right,
level
so the
switch.
leg needs to move, get the circulation going. You know, we don't really want to have any blood clots forming and causing any heart attack and any stroke and anything like that. So we want to facilitate this. So Miss,
It's a good way to fight padding on the pounds as well.
right, so on screen you'll see some information. So let's just take a little break and learn and do. 4-H, learn by doing. So you realize there's no vocal on this, so you have to read and follow the instructions, right? So we're told to get up from your desk or whatever position you're at and participate. All right, come on, everybody, get up. Fantastic, fantastic. I mean, the winner for me was the one where you lapped your leg over your foot and stretched forward. That one was new for me. But I'm hoping you didn't just watch something.
Yes, man, we're doing it.
That was so refreshing. Get the blood pumping. I mean, we stretch almost everywhere, the head, the neck, the back, the legs. So we are really pumped and ready to go into our next session, right? Wonderful. I see the comments. All right, doing good so far. Good, great, great, great. So, all right, so we're going on into the next segment, and this actually will be part of the sandwich, the actual sandwich and staple making presentation, which will continue into tomorrow. All right, so let me go. Ready. Good. So we are going to start with our introduction, and here many persons talk about sandwich. So what is a sandwich? What exactly is a sandwich, right? So it is a food item typically consisting of one or more slices of bread with spread, filling, and garnish, right? And we realize that sandwiches are very versatile and they can be prepared for a whole slew of different occasions. So we'll have them for meetings, we have them for child's party, cocktail party, we have them as snack, we can have them as part of our packed lunches, when you go on picnics, etc. So it is very, very versatile. All right, great. So having understood what is a sandwich, we want to ask the question, you know, what is a staplewich? And I figure a lot of persons, when they heard the term staplewich, if you are not a part of the forage family, you'd be wondering, what on earth is that? Staplewich, I've never heard that term before. But the Jamaica Forage Club's home economics team, you know, we're always keen on showcasing the versatility of our local produce, right? And we, of course, want to also promote the consumption of same. So we need to eat what we grow. We have so much, such a versatile and unique foods and fruits and things that are here that are in our island. We need to be able to consume more of it. So in 2021, the new term staplewich was coined to project innovation in the use of our local produce to value addition, and especially as it relates to food production and the culinary arts, right? So staplewich is similar to a sandwich. However, the bread base is replaced with a suitably prepared staple or staple-based product. So instead of having the bread in the sandwich, the bread is replaced with a staple or staple-based product, right? Following so far? I hope so. Now, the staples used can include, it's not limited to sweet potato, cassava, dasheen, yam, green bananas, plantain, right? And these crops may be baked, roasted, fried, boiled, or steamed, depending on your preferences, your occasion, or the particular type of staple which you're making. Good so far? Now, the staple-related products may also be used and may include things like bami, which would have been a product made from
Cassava.
Right. So this staple-related product is made from the cassava. They also have your homemade local staple wraps, right? So you probably use something like badu or yam to make a wrap, or you make a fritter base using green banana or so on. So do you understand the concept of the staple witch?
We do.
I do.
Great.
Yes, we do.
In the eventuality, we don't have the flour to make the bread, we can substitute that bread with a staple or staple-based product. So we can use roasted sweet potato, right? Or we can use bami or a wrap or a fritter or something like that instead of the bread. So now
Can biscuit be used?
what staple witch. So you hear the staple from staple and the witch from the song. Staple witch. Great.
Can biscuit be used?
No. Biscuit is not used because we're using the staple crop mainly. What are some of the staple crops we have? Unless you make that biscuit from sweet potato, right? That biscuit from yam or green banana, right? But we are using up what we have on this lovely island of Jamaica, right? To substitute the bread. So again, sweet potato, plants, bananas, cassava, dasheen, badu. If you know what is badu, they more seasoned persons may understand what I'm talking about when I say badu, right? And
something that is similar to the dasheen.
I see it there, the seasoned person understand exactly. We can use our fruits, etc. Right? So not only can you use those crops, but you can also utilize products made from those crops. So like we said, the bami, or if you make a fritter or you make a wrap from those crops, then you're good to go. Clear as crystal, or is it a little foggy? I need to clarify.
Just want to ask, you've been placing emphasis on the sweet potatoes. The Irish just as good?
Just as good, sir.
Thank you.
Good, just as good.
Can cabbage be
leaf is available to you? Go again?
Can we use the leaf of the cabbage as a wrap?
No, the leaf of the cabbage wouldn't be a staple. Remember, a staple would be a crop source that has predominant starch in it, right? So you would have your cassava, your dasheen, your yam. If you look at the different food groups, we have our staple groups, and these are the different items that would fall under that staple group.
So roti wouldn't apply.
Pardon?
Will roti apply to that? I can make a roti sandwich.
The roti is made from wheat. If you replace the wheat with, let's say, breadfruit flour or the cassava flour to make that roti, then fine. Okay. But what we're trying to do is replace those wheat-based products like the bread.
Okay, yes.
Our own staple that we have here in Jamaica. Understand?
Okay.
Any other question that will help to clarify it in your mind?
Would the filling be the same as for the sandwich?
Everything else would be the same. Right? It's just the base that we're...
And these food would apply to people who are gluten-free.
So the gluten-free people would love this and grab onto it and run like Shelly and Fraser and all the other stars in athletics. Right? Good, great. So we can move on from this. So we understand what's a sandwich, right? And we understand what's a staple, which we can differentiate. So while the sandwich uses bread at the base, the staple which uses the local staple crops as the base, which can be prepared, as we said, utilizing different methods of baking, boiling, roasting, frying, etc. Or we can use the related crops, products like the bami or the fritter base or the wraps, etc. All right, good. All right. So having understood that, then we can move into the other elements of sandwich making. So we want to start with the understanding that there are two main classifications of sandwiches. We have hot and cold sandwiches. Now you may also have some that will utilize a little heat in it, so you call those semi, but the major classification is hot and cold. Clear? Clear.
Clear, Miss, clear.
We have, outside of the two main classifications, right, we have different types. So we have open face, closed face, pinwheels, roll-ups, multi-decker, checkerboards, and we tend to call like the checkerboard specialty sandwiches. We have wraps, rainbow or ribbon sandwiches. So these are the different types. Can we remember them? Open face, that's where the filling is exposed. Closed face, right? So the closed face is where the filling is concealed with, whether it's gonna be bread or in the case of the staple, which it would be a staple that covers it, right? The pinwheel, now those ones that we actually roll to create that wheel effect, right? Multi-decker, multiple layers of filling, right? Checkerboard, you know what a checkerboard looks like. That's how it actually looks, right? Good. Now, understanding that your sandwich, as we said, the food item comprising of bread, spread, filling, and garnish are the actual parts. Also remembering that if you are going to be doing a staple, which we wouldn't have the bread, but we would have what there?
Staple food, let's say like a
staple, please.
Right, wonderful. So we understand. So it would not be bread, but it would be a staple or staple product, whether it be bami or otherwise, right? Great. So we would have the bread, spread, filling, and garnish. So those are the parts of the sandwich. And if it's a staple, which it's gonna be staple, spread, filling, garnish. Now, if we're having bread for our sandwich, we understand that this is the base and the foundation of the sandwich, right? It provides an edible casing for the food inside. Now, good quality bread provides a variety, it provides texture, it provides flavor, it also can provide eye appeal to the sandwich, right? Now, if you're going to be doing your sandwich, the bread should have a uniform shape so that each slice is the same size or the same shape, right? So how you're going to cut it must be uniform so you don't have different degrees of thickness. Nathaniel has a question, your hand is raised. Or Tajay, someone from Portland here, their hand is raised. I'm just checking if you have a question. All right.
Hello?
Go ahead.
Yes, just trying to get some information from the slides, but they are moving too fast.
I'm going too fast?
Yeah, the slides, trying to get some information from them, but they are moving real fast.
All right. So we were here in terms of different parts. And you said if you're doing sandwiches, the regular sandwiches, it would be bread, spread, filling, garnish. If it's staple, Then we'll be the staple, your spread, your filling, and garnish. Right? Good. We are at the bread now. Are you there with us? All right.
Yes, ma'am.
Natalie, you have a question? Go ahead with your question.
A suggestion that you do a snapshot of the page.
Okay. All right. So, as we said, the bread will provide casein, variety, texture, flavor, and of course, we said uniformity in the shape and the size of the bread is also important. This would be replaced by staple if we're utilizing staples for the staple wedge. And of course, here where the bread would provide the texture, etc., it also adds carbohydrate to the dish, right? It would add carbohydrate. Likewise, if it's a staple, the staple would also add carbohydrate. Depending on the particular staple that you'll be using, then other nutrients can also be benefited from in your staple. So if you're using a sweet potato, you're gonna have your vitamin A, etc. Right? Good. Now we have different types of bread that we utilize, and these you can all, I would hope that you're able to check on the internet for some of these. So you have your Pullman, which is a regular loaf bread that we utilize, your white bread, your brown bread that gets in your different supermarkets or shops, right? That we use for sandwiches. Ideal thickness is about 3/8 to 5/8 thickness. And I lean more towards the 3/8 of an inch for nice regular sandwiches. You have your pumpernickel, rye, pita, and French breads. The pumpernickel being the one of the darkest brown, right? And these will also have varying degrees of texture, being fine or coarse. And of course, depending on the type of sandwich you're going to be making, will give you that firmness that you need for spreading your spread and your filling, right? Now, generally, we advise against using very fresh bread for your regular sandwiches. If you know what bread is like when it's just made, what do you know about it in terms of texture?
It is very soft.
Aye. It is usually soft. And for those of us who are as young as I am, it is one of the things you used to love because you just cut it, butter it, and you just squeeze it together. That's how I used to do it, right?
But the flesh of the bread is still alive.
Push it together.
So the flesh of the bread.
It's the softer it is. The fresher the bread, the softer it is, right? Yes. And so if you're going to be slicing, you may come into some challenge once you're slicing that bread. However, if you're going to be doing sandwiches like pinwheel sandwich, where you're going to be rolling, then the softer bread is a lot easier to work with. Do you understand me? So if you're going to be making your pinwheel sandwich or your roll-up sandwiches, then the softer bread rolls a lot easier. But if you're doing your regular open face, closed face sandwiches, then you want your bread ideally to be a few days old, right? 2 days or so, to allow it to firm a little bit, so it facilitates the cutting much better than the fresh ones. Understood?
Yes,
all right. Great. Now, in your storage, when you're gonna store your bread now, right? So fresh bread is essential for top quality sandwiches. As we said, once it becomes too stale, then you're going to be in problems. So we don't want anything too stale because then other issues come into play, right? So 1 or 2 days older is good. And you're going to keep your bread tightly wrapped to reduce the loss of moisture, right? So you're going to moisture-proof wrap the bread. Most times what we do, we make sure that when we pull the bread bag, we tie it back securely so that the air does not escape and we lose the moisture from it, right? So we keep it away from heat sources. So we're not going to keep it near to the stove or the oven or those heated equipment that will cause loss of moisture as well, right? So we have that understanding for our bread. We're moving on now to our spreads, right? So why do we need a spread? We need a spread to protect the bread from soaking up the moisture from the filling. We need a spread to add flavor to our sandwich or staplewich. We need our spread to also give that mouthfeel quality to our sandwich or our staplewich. Now, what can we use as a spread? We can use soft butter or margarine or flavored butter or margarine or mayonnaise, right? For persons who tend not to actually want those ingredients, they will also opt to using other ingredients such as you can have avocado, crushed or creamed avocado, because again, avocado has that, not necessarily, let's call it the moisture base, not just moisture base, but it also has that quantity of fat to it that helps to repel moisture, right? I have also seen where persons also use ackee, because ackee also has fat in it and they use that as their, so those persons who don't particularly like butter or margarine have other options to use, right? In the event where we utilize ingredients such as cheese, then the cheese acts as both spread and filling. So you don't normally use a spread as well as your creamed cheese, right? Because the spread there or the cheese there would have that multiple function. Understood? Yes, no? I'm taking silence for consent.
Yes.
Yes, I understand this.
Right. All right. So whether you're using butter or margarine, it should be soft enough to spread it without tearing the bread. Because you know, if you take the margarine or the butter out of the fridge or the refrigerator, it is hard. And if you take a portion of that and try to spread that across the bread, you can try it when you go home if you have those ingredients. You will realize that the bread starts breaking apart because it is not soft enough to glide over the surface of the bread. All right, so we have to soften the margarine or butter a little bit first before you apply. Great. Or mayonnaise, also some persons tend to prefer the mayonnaise over the butter or the margarine. So whichever you use, it's the choice that you have, right? So either it's available to you or you prefer it. That's what you're going to be using for your bread. What's the difference between butter and margarine?
I think it's the structure.
Butter is harder. The butter is harder.
Please mute. All right, so your butter is...
let me answer that. The margarine is...
Right? So butter is animal-based and margarine is plant-based. So your butter would come from cow's milk or goat milk, etc. And your margarine would be from what you would call, whether it is sunflower or some other plant-based ingredient. All right? Okay, great. Filling. Filling is the one of, well, we call it the heart of the sandwich, right? It's the heart of the sandwich, the middle of the sandwich. Now, this ingredient is usually placed on or in between the bread slices. So it's either placed on the bread slice or between the slices of bread, right? Now, the sandwich is usually made, the name of the sandwich is usually gained from the filling. So if cheese is the filling, then it is a cheese sandwich. If chicken is the filling, then it is a
chicken sandwich.
If egg is the filling, then it's an egg sandwich. Do you understand? So whatever, if cucumber is the filling, then it's a
cucumber sandwich.
Great. So the filling normally gives the name of the sandwich. Good. Now there are so many different things that we use as filling. Filling can be meat-based, poultry-based, fish or shellfish-based, cheese. You can also have staples and vegetables, right? You can have miscellaneous, such as your peanut butter and jelly and those kind of things, right? So your filling can come from a whole heap of different things that you can choose from. Great. So here we have meats. And of course, our meats would come from things like your beef, right? Your pork, and also the byproducts of those. So the ham, the bologna, the salam, the luncheon meats, etc. Right? The poultry now would be from your chicken, your turkey, and the products from those. So you would have your turkey breast and your processed chicken meats, etc. Right? So you even have, nowadays, you even have chicken ham. So that would fall on your poultry. You go into your fish and you'd have your tuna for those who are accessible and can afford a salmon, your canned fish such as your mackerel, right? Even as much as your shrimp, etc., would fall under this category, right? And of course, the cheese also come in different forms. So you have the slice, you have the shredded cheese, you have the cream cheese spread, etc. Right? Great. Following so far, have I lost anyone? Melanie, go ahead with your question.
Oh, good afternoon, Miss. That one was already passed. I was just talking about the margarine and the butter itself, because one is harder than the other one.
Okay, so the content or the ingredient or the makeup is the greatest distinguishing quality. So like I said, the butter, animal-based, margarine, plant-based, especially for those persons who don't consume meat, then they stick to the margarines. All right, great.
Yes.
So lower your hand now, Melanie. Thank you so much. All right. So, as I said, you can also have vegetable fillings for our vegetarians or vegan persons. Then, you know, the tomato and the lettuce and the cucumber and the avocado, etc., would be something that they'd be utilizing as the filling for their sandwiches. Then you come into things like your cooked eggs, your jams, your jellies, your peanut butter, also as option for filling, especially for the kids who tend to love these PB&J sandwich, etc. All right, great. Now we come to the garnish. And the garnish is a food item that enhances the dish. It makes it more appealing, right? It makes it look good. So foods used to enhance the appearance of sandwiches are called the garnishes. Now, garnishes may be added on top of a sandwich, especially in the case of our open face sandwiches, to make it look better, right? They may also be used as side garnishes. So it may not be on the food, but it can also be beside the food on the plate or the platter. So you have things like your sprig of parsley, your tomato flower or roses, your carrot curls, your slices of fruits and vegetables. You can even have something like a cooked salad, like a potato salad with a number of different colors of vegetables in it to make it look nice, right? Vegetables can also be used within the sandwich to enhance the look of the sandwich. So of course, where the varying colors come into play, so you have the lettuce that is green, the tomato that is red, the carrot that is orange, can be layered into the sandwich to give that eye appeal, to give that lovely contrasting color to make it look nice, right? So you can have the lettuce, the vegetable as part of the sandwich to enhance the color and appearance. You can have it on top of the sandwich where you have your open face to enhance the appearance, or you can have on the plate or platter to enhance it, right? So what can we use? Lettuce leaves, green salad or potato salad, onion slices, fruit slices, vegetable slices, shapes and flowers. So you can have your tomato flower, your tomato rose, your cucumber flower, your cucumber rose, carrot curls, etc. Right? So these are all examples of garnishes. Right? And of course, your lettuce leaves can be shredded or they can just be torn depending on the look that you want. All right? So if you're giving me an example, I don't want just the food. So if you're going to tell me tomato, I don't want to tell me tomato alone. I want you to tell me tomato slices, tomato roast, tomato flower, tomato wedges, that sort of thing, that you can actually visualize what you're giving as an example. Great, great. Nutritive value. Now, the nutritive value of your sandwich or staple which will depend on its components, right? So the makeup of your sandwich or staple which will determine the nutritive quality that it has, right? All right. So as we said in the initial stage, for our bread or our staple, you will majorly get your carbohydrate there. Understood? Understood. Your spread, which mostly comprises of your butter or your margarine or your mayonnaise, or in the instances where you use your avocado or so on, the major ingredient you're going to be expecting from that is your fat. And of course, we said the fat content will help to add as a shield, right? Or a barrier between your bread and your filling to prevent it from becoming soggy. So that's where the fat is important there, right? It also, as a means of revision, the fat also will give the mouthfeel, and also depending on what you actually use or add to it. So if you want to add some garlic, grated garlic to your butter or your margarine or other ingredients such as pepper, etc., will also add the flavor to it to improve the flavor. But the key nutrient there is the fat. Now your filling will determine what other nutrient you get. So if it's a case of your meat or your poultry or your fish, you'll be getting protein there. Also, in the case where you use peas and beans, so your cooked peas and beans to create a spread would give you the protein there as well for your vegans or your persons who don't particularly consume meat. As you add your vegetables or fruits, depending on what it is you're adding to your sandwich, then you would get your vitamins and your minerals. So your lettuce, your tomato, your carrots, etc., would give that slew of nutritive quality to your filling, right? In the case where for your carbohydrate, if it is that you're going to be doing like a breadfruit spread, then that also would add to your carbohydrate content. Your garnishes, depending again on what it is you're using, will majorly add to your vitamins, your minerals. And in the case where you're going to be adding like a potato salad, then that also will add your carbohydrate, right? So can we think of the part and the associated nutritive quality that it will add to it? We can think of these things. So bread, carbohydrate, spread, fat, filling, you're thinking of protein, minerals, vitamins, and in some cases, carbohydrate. Your garnish, mostly vitamins and minerals. And in the case where you're using on the plate, you're using a salad, and that may also be coming with some carbohydrate. Clear? Are we clear?
Yes, miss. Yes, miss.
Yes, clear.
All right, wonderful. All right. I think that was the, oh, that's Antul. Sorry, where am I? I think I'm going forward too fast. Great. So here are some points we need to consider when we are actually preparing or producing our sandwiches. And some of them you would have heard before, but let's go through them. Sanitation is vital in all food preparation activities, and we indicated that as at the beginning, right? So we have to ensure that food is safe for consumption, and so what we do, how we handle ourselves, we prepare in terms of keeping environments clean, etc., and our self-clean is important, right? Very, very important, especially in the production of cold sandwiches. Can anybody tell me why? Why would sanitation be even more important in the preparation of cold sandwiches versus hot sandwiches?
Bacteria tend to live in cold things more than hot things, not sure.
Go again, I didn't hear you quite clearly. Go again, I didn't hear you so clearly. Again.
More bacteria will be built up.
All right, so there is the possibility that you can have bacteria built up, yes, but also the fact that when you have your hot sandwiches, the heat, right, can kill some of the bacteria. True?
Yes.
True? Yes, because the heat will help to kill some of the bacteria. But when you have the cold sandwiches, there's no heat there to kill the bacteria. So it is even more important that all the necessary food handling and sanitation practices be of optimal, be at the optimal point to reduce bacterial growth and contamination. All right, you understand that?
Yes, miss.
Amen. All right, good. Now keep bread covered to retain moisture, right? Because we said once you leave the bread in the open air, then it's gonna moisture, it's going to harden, and the quality is going to fall.
Deteriorate.
Quality is going to deteriorate, right? Right? Keep sandwiches covered and chilled until ready for service. So either you're going to have it in the refrigerator, or it is that you're going to pack them in a cooler with ice to ensure that they are kept cool, right? Remember, we said hot foods are kept hot, cold foods are kept cold. All right. Consider the occasion for which sandwiches are required. So if you're going to be having a cocktail party, a little fancy party, or even as a means of, so you're having a wedding and you want to have sandwiches as part of the hors d'oeuvres served, then you're going to have them nice and small and dainty looking, right? Versus something you're going to have for lunch, where you're not looking for pretty looks. No, you're looking for sustainability, what it is that's going to keep you and sustain you. Then looks not so important, right? Right. So the occasion will have to determine. If it's for kids, they want something that looks nice and fun and attractive.
Naveen.
Right? All right. So bread should be, as I said, about 2 days old for ease of cutting, except where it is that you're going to be using it for making specialty sandwich, such as your rolls and your wraps. All right. Use good butter, margarine, and cream it so it spreads easily. So you have to cream it so it is softened, so it doesn't tear up the bread or damage the bread while you apply. Trim the crust before filling, right? So when you're gonna be compiling your sandwiches, you trim your crust. Make an even layer of filling for your ingredients. So you don't want your filling place where one side it's stacked high and the other side it is low. So when you look, you see like going up into a mountain. You must try as best as possible to have a level playing field there when you're actually adding your filling. Cut smartly with a sharp knife, and this is where sharp knives are important to give you that nice clean cut and neat edges, right? And if you're going to be doing different fillings, then your labeling is important, so you know what sandwiches are these over those ones. Use appropriate garnishes based on the type of sandwiches made and how they will be plated. And your garnishes enhance the appearance of your sandwiches or staple which, but it should not consume your dish, meaning it should not overpower the dish. So all you're seeing shouldn't be garnish, right? You must see the actual dish and it is enhanced by garnish. So it's not the garnish that you're promoting, it is the actual staple which are sandwich, right? But the garnish just kind of make it have a little wow effect, give it a little poof, you know, give it an up look. I don't know what you want, I don't know in term now, but you know, it must be bouncing, it must be up and bouncing, right? Good. Now, prepare sandwiches quickly and neatly. Remember, we said time is important, organization and speed is important, right? So we need to work quickly, but we also need to work neatly. All right. And that would be, this is where we are ending for this session, right at the essential point. So we're just going to actually review and then facilitate the questions. All right. So we started off giving the definition for sandwich. Is there anyone who remembers what a sandwich is? Come bright sparks. Come bright sparks. We need to remember.
Hi, miss. Sandwich is made with bread and some kind of filling.
All right. So you remember the bread and the filling. What are the parts?
It can be garnished.
Garnish is there. One more.
And you have to have some moisture, whether it be margarine.
Start with S.
Spread.
Filling. Filling.
Yes.
Oh,
Bread,
the
the
sandwich
spread,
is a food
and the filling.
item consisting of a food
Bread,
item.
bread or staple.
One
Let me
Bread.
more
try,
slice
Miss
of
Fulton.
bread.
Let me
All right,
try.
hold on. Confusion. So let us go again.
Let me try. Let me try. Bread,
Who is
spread,
trying?
filling, Judith or
Okay, yes.
the bread, the spread, the filling, and the garnish. And they can have the bread is supposed to be a carbohydrate, or you have the food, the staple which or the staple which what, and
All
the
right.
spread is
All
supposed. For me now, being a vegan, I would use a margarine, which is the fat, the filling, which is the protein. I would like maybe use some tofu or whatever I make up, and the garnish I would use like diced tomato or something like decorative onions, and then
We're
cover it.
learning here as we go. So the vegan family is also now sharing what are some of the things that they use to make up the sandwich. So remember, the sandwich here, as said before, is a food item consisting of bread, spread, filling, and garnish. And Miss R just gave some examples of things that she would use as a vegan for those different parts of the sandwich. Wonderful. Now, we also looked at staple which, and the staple which, some bright spark, tell me now, what's the difference between the staple which and the sandwich?
The staple which.
Who is talking now?
It's Audrey.
Okay, Audrey, go ahead.
The staple which is made up of staple instead of the bread. Instead of using bread, use a staple.
All right, so can somebody else now help Audrey in saying what are some of the staples that we can use for the staple which?
Some of the sweet
This is Rupert, Portland.
Okay, go ahead, Rupert.
So we could use whether the sweet potato or the other potato, banana, the plantain, the yams, or we could use the wraps made from bananas or whatever we like.
Great. Or bamis from the cassava.
That's right.
Wonderful. I'm so happy. I see you're grasping so much information. So I can just imagine from now until next week, a lot of staple and sandwiches are going to be produced and consumed.
You better believe that.
Great. Having understood the difference between the sandwich and the staple, we also understand that there are two main classifications, which are
hot and cold.
Thank you very much. So hot and cold. Right. So you understand that there are some sandwiches like the grilled cheese sandwich where they actually put the ingredients together and then apply the heat. So you get that grill effect, etc. And the other that we look at have no heat applied, but in actuality, the ingredients are compiled with different, as you said, different parts. So no heat is applied. And we looked at different types of sandwiches and what are some of those we said?
Open
closed
up. Right, the pinwheel or the roll-ups, yes.
Checkerboard.
The rainbow.
Ribbon.
And the nice one. So
the deca sandwich also.
The deca and the one,
maybe
you're not doing the right action. The wrap, right? So we have the wrap as well, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And we have the checkerboard. So we have so many different ones depending on the occasion and so on. Fine. So having understood that, then we can also look at the parts that make up the sandwich. And as we said before, we have the bread,
spread,
it would be the garnish. Right? All right. And what are some different types of bread that we could use for sandwiches?
Right.
Right. What's the
pumpernickel bread?
The
Pullman.
Pullman.
Pumpernickel.
Yes.
The pumpernickel, the
Pizza.
ride,
Wheat
and the
bread.
friend.
And the
Wheat bread or white bread.
right, great. And of course, in a lot of these, we now have the what we call the white or the whole wheat, where you know people are now trying to make it a little bit more healthy for us, you know, the fiber and etc. Now, of course, we understand that the variety of bread will offer us what? Is there a reason?
Carbohydrates.
You're getting carbohydrate, but what else?
Other
You're going to
nutrients.
get what?
Extra flavor.
Protein, minerals, and vitamins.
Flavor, right, the texture and the flavor.
Flavor.
Yeah, the flavor.
Right. And
the
even
eye
appeal of a sandwich.
Right, because look at it. If I'm doing a layer sandwich, I'm doing a double-decker sandwich, I can choose to use both whole wheat, which will be brown, and white bread, which will be white. So you end up with either the brown, or white, brown, white to give a different look, a different appearance. Understand?
Yes.
Even in the case of the checkerboard, the checkerboard it is the different colors of bread that actually give you effect, right?
Yes.
Wonderful. All right. So we also said the storage of the bread is important. Why?
To prevent
For hygienic purpose.
To prevent the bread from drying out.
Yes. To prevent the bread from drying out or prevent the loss of moisture. And as someone also said, so to ensure sanitation, we need to ensure that things are covered and we don't cause contamination, right? Good. Wonderful. All right. So having understood all of that, then we also know that the major nutrient here would be
carbohydrates and fat.
Carbohydrates. Great. And in the case of the staple, which it will depend on the type of staple that you actually use. All right. Some are more nutrient dense than others. Right?
Okay.
So now we are going into, let me see how quick I can do it because I think time catching up on now. Right, so we have bread, the spread, as we said.
Bread.
Bread provides what?
Protection from the fat,
but the purpose is
protect the bread from filling for the bread to get soggy.
Soaking up and get soggy.
Exactly so. Right. So it now creates a barrier between the bread and the filling so that the bread doesn't become soggy. Right. It also adds mouthfeel. Right. And it also adds flavor, especially in the case where you add your special little touch of this and that in there. Jamaicans are very flavorful. So they must add a little chop up, what you call it now?
Garlic and onions and those things.
Yes, I'll put a little paprika in there or so on to give it a color or change the color and we'll flavor it up nice. That's us. Right? So it's gonna add flavor, it's gonna add mouthfeel, it's gonna cause a barrier to prevent the bread from getting soggy. Right? Go into the filling. Of course, we said that the filling can be from so many different things. It can come from
vegetables,
cheese,
poultry,
and vegetable items.
Beans, staples, vegetables, the oils. We have the ones called miscellaneous where we have the peanut butter, and so on, right? And depending on what it is that you actually use, then you will be getting the protein from that majorly, right? With the added minerals, etc. from it as well, right? And if it is a case where your filling is vegetable, base, then you're gonna get your vitamins and also added minerals from that. Because as we said, not everybody will eat meat, but those who will have their vegetables will get the benefits of the vitamins and minerals, etc. from those, right? And our garnish will be
vitamins and minerals.
Food used to.
We're getting vitamins and minerals, but they come specifically from
pickled food, like cucumber, pickled cucumber.
But you can also have your vegetables, right? Like your cucumbers, your tomato slices.
Vegetables and fruits.
Right. And depending on the particular vegetable that you use, you can utilize that to make different things. So it cannot just be, well, it may not just be tomato slices or tomato wedges, but you can use the skin of the tomato to make rolls. You can use the fruit itself to make a flour, etc. You can use onion curls. You can have slices of cucumber to make different shapes, designs, and so on, right? So you can use different vegetables to make different garnishes to place either on top as part of the sandwich or staple which, or it can be on the plate. Remember? We remember those? So like I said,
yes.
The garnish as part of the sandwich would be those vegetables with the varying colors that are actually in the vegetable, in the sandwich. So you have the lettuce, the tomato, the carrot, and so giving different colors to make the sandwich look so much more appealing than without it.
All right, just 1 minute. For a vegan, the hot sandwich, could it be grilled burger, because you can make burger from peas, or you can make burger from
definitely so. Definitely so.
As long as you grill it, right?
Your cutlets, etc., that you actually would prepare from your plant base, whether your beans, your peas, like whatever legumes and nuts that you would have had, and those are baked or grilled or however you prepare them, then that would be part of your hot sandwich or staple that you would have made. Great. And so we understand all of that, and we understand the nutritive component, and we also finished off with just highlighting some points that were essential in remembering, such as we said, the handling and sanitation, the covering of the bread and the sandwiches, and trimming, and thinking about the occasion that you're actually preparing the sandwiches for, and also being organized and speedy in preparation of your sandwiches to reduce the time that you actually spend at room temperature in the preparation of same. All right, so those are some of the things that we would have covered today. Are there any questions?
When we are supposed to do the practical, yes.
We're not going into the practical now, because that's gonna be something that has to be done via the parish. There are 6 parishes participating, and we are going to be looking at how the practical will be administered. And there will be about 3 different options for you to choose from. And since you mentioned it, let me just state it. You will either have face-to-face, where you will be scheduled to come in and do the demonstration of your practical. There will be opportunity for Zoom preparation, where you will set up and a Zoom link created for you to demonstrate. Or there will be a video preparation where you actually prepare the video and submit that. So there will be 3 options for you to choose from. But don't get the information in your head as to what it is. There's also, as Ms. Carr would have indicated, a written aspect, a written test to do, which is why you need all the information as well to remember, right?
Right.
Any questions? We close this.
Yes, miss. This is Michael from St. Andrew. I have two questions. I wanted to know what is a pinwheel sandwich, one, and two, if the PowerPoint presentations that you used could be made available to us. I really enjoyed your presentation. I should say that too. All right, thanks.
Thank you so much. There will be some notes shared. I'm just going to try and see if I can. There are some images I'm trying to see if there's any on this one. No, it's not this one. All right, it is not. Right, not this one. I was trying to see if I could find. I had some images. Oh. All right, let me try again to see if I could locate one of the images for you.
How do you screenshot it?
You press the window key, shift key, and S.
Miss?
Go ahead.
Good afternoon. I'm Carol Phillips. I was thinking that instead of you looking for specific slides to share, would it be better if the region share it with persons? I was just thinking. Another thing is...
Yes, go ahead.
Another thing, are we going to have a demonstration before we doing the thing? I thought that we would have demonstration persons demonstrating how to make this kind of sandwich, and then we could do it on our own before we do a video. I was thinking along that line. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. If you are looking at this schedule, you'll see that on Friday we'll be doing that demonstration. And you will also be sharing in some video demonstrations on Tuesday. So Friday and Tuesday, you will have that opportunity to share in that element of it. And also additional videos will be shared in the WhatsApp group. So ensure that you align yourself with one of the parish groups so you can get that additional information. Is everybody online registered? I hope everybody's registered because we need the information. Of course, you would understand to be able to contact persons to get the correct spelling of names, etc., etc. So ensure that you register. If you have not registered, there's still the opportunity to do so. I am sure there were some registration forms shared in the chat, so you can quickly check and see if the link for your parish is there and click on it.
Our Portland is not St. Mary and Kingston.
All right, are you in a WhatsApp group for Portland and for your particular parish?
Yes, miss, we're in a WhatsApp group.
Right, so the information will be shared in that group. All right, and I'll remind the parish managers and secretaries to repost the registration forms so you can fill them out. All right. So as was suggested, guys, I am sure if we all have our devices and you can do a little research on your own, you can identify what a wrap, a pinwheel, a decker sandwich looks like. I thought I had the images. Unfortunately, I'm not identifying them now, but click pinwheel sandwich in your browser. You will see a slew of examples coming up. How it is made is actually slicing the bread lengthwise, applying your spread, your filling, rolling it, and then you get a circle or a log shape, and that is sliced into small circles. So you end up seeing the filling going around like a wheel. So that's why they call it a pinwheel sandwich. All right, I hope I have answered your question. And as I said, the notes will be shared in the group. So ensure you are enlisted in the WhatsApp groups. If not, I am here until about a few minutes after 1 for those who are having challenges, and I can try my best to direct you to the relevant parish. All right. Are there any other questions? We are just over 1 o'clock.
Yes, good morning. Good afternoon. Just a question as it relates to certification. I know Ms. Carr spoke about it earlier on. Is Ms. Carr the same person in charge of previous certification for different courses that you would have done?
Yes.
Because the challenges is I would have had students who would have done previous courses, but the thing is when we complete these courses and we are supposed to get the certificate, the students are not getting them. I don't have a problem joining and not receiving as a teacher because I am primarily here to get information so I can provide, new information to my students. But as for my students who are coming and doing the courses and they're asking me, Miss, what is happening? I am not able to provide them with, feasible responses. So can you share what is happening with some previous courses that I would have done or my students would have done?
We really apologize for the delay. We encountered some real challenges in the production and printing of said certificates. However, the issues being addressed, some of them have been printed and we still await the printing of others, and that is being sorted. I presently have a list of some in hand, which I'm going to be posting the names so persons can actually identify themselves, and those will be sent to the particular parish for collection. But we apologize for the delay. And one of the things, as Ms. Carr did indicate, because there are different, what you would call it now, categories of training. So this will be home based. There are other agriculture and other areas of training that takes place. So there had been some challenges in doing that mass printing. So it is being sorted out, and I am truly anticipating that you will get those certificates in short order. All right. So again, I apologize for the delay in receiving those certificates.
All right. Thank you very much for that.
You're most welcome. All right. So there being no other questions, I thank you wholeheartedly for your participation and your patience. We really worked well today. We are just 5 minutes after 1, and we anticipate your participation tomorrow. It will be really fun tomorrow because you're not just going to see my wonderful and beautiful face. There'll be other presenters on tomorrow as it relates to, as I said, guide to home gardening, and also our representative from Heart Foundation of Jamaica. So please join us again tomorrow and have a wonderful rest of the day. Go replenish yourselves, and we'll see you same time tomorrow. All right. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Miss.
You're most welcome.
Thank you, Miss.